Hello students, in this video I will be going through a course and project overview for MMDD 232 Emerging Multimedia Practice 1. Now these slides I'm going to go through are also available for you to access on Blackboard to go through them along with this video or to just reference after you watch this as well. It'll be very important for you to use it as a reference document, especially at the start of the semester, as it is a lot of information. You can consider this video and this presentation as the sort of thing you would receive in your first week of class, typically in a classroom, where your professor would be up here giving you a grand overview of the course of the semester, information like from the outline and critical path and all of those things that you do at the start of the semester. However, since this is an online class and it's mostly asynchronous, as I'll end up talking about, this information is being delivered to you through this video and through these slides. So you can watch this at any time on your own and skip through it as well as you need to reference later on. But definitely for the first go round, you should watch this video in full. It's going to have a lot of information in it. So you're going to need to review this, like I said, especially at the start of the semester. But it is all here for you to understand. And so with that, I will begin. First, I'll talk a bit about the course approach, as you already might be a little bit sort of confused or trying to get a sense of it even by just watching this video, but if you made it this far, that's fantastic. One thing I want to first bring up, and this is sort of a contextual approach to the course as a whole, is just a bit of a story. A couple semesters ago, and it wasn't that long ago because it was during this AI era that we live in, I asked MMDD students to use AI, an image generator, to generate an image of where they saw themselves in 5 years, right? This is something that I use as an exercise just to get a sense of where students were envisioning themselves after they leave this program. The majority of students generated images of people working at laptops, or working on laptops in a park, at the beach, at a coffee shop, at home. I was very surprised to see how much students envision themselves working in these non-traditional sort of contexts. And this made me realize that MMDD students have a desire to work in remote or hybrid positions. And maybe this is something about the changing world after the pandemic, or just how this has become a bit more of a normal scenario for people, or just because you're working on laptops in this program and you can do sort of remote work on them. I was really just surprised to see how many students envision themselves working in these sort of contexts. So me, being your professor, I took that insight to say, okay, this is a goal that students have once they leave this program. How can I help students on that path? So this course, the format of it and the approach for it has changed a bit over the years, but currently the approach is that it's set up in a way for you to develop skills as a remote worker to help prepare you for this desired work context. Now, maybe you are sitting here saying, I have no interest in working remotely. I want to work in a more traditional office. That's perfectly fine as well, but it's still good for you to develop these skills as they are really important as an independent learner, which you will be in your careers, and just as someone who can be more organized with their work and who can stay on top of deadlines and all of those classic things that come up in your careers. So this is just to give you some context as to some of why the course is structured in the way that it is. It's intended to simulate a remote work type relationship and type of scenario and context for you. So the format and delivery of this course, overall, which I'll get into this a lot in this presentation, but you will propose and complete a self-directed multimedia project throughout the semester. So you'll also notice that this document, right, it's a course and project overview because they kind of are one in the same. You'll be proposing a project that you work on throughout the semester, and that is basically your coursework. So this course is online and primarily asynchronous, right? Asynchronous meaning that it is completed on your own time rather than on specific times during the week when we have to meet or something like that. And you can consider your project work time counting as course time. So this is something I'll get to later on in the presentation as well, but you think about your courses as typically being 3 hours each week, so you should be spending at least that amount of time, ideally a bit more, every week getting caught up on any course materials online, but also working on your project during that time as well. Now, there will be scheduled online one-on-one supervisor meetings to discuss your project progress. I am your supervisor, right? I'm your professor for this course. I'm simulating that kind of relationship with you. So there will be key points of the semester where I will put out schedules for students to meet one-on-one with me, just to have that sort of connection with you and to discuss your project with you in that sort of way, which is very helpful for your own progression throughout the course of the semester. There will also be scheduled online drop-in sessions for students to come by with any inquiries. So these will be more sort of open drop-ins at some point during the class time, and you have the opportunity to drop in at the time to ask me any questions. It'll be optional. Now, I did mention class time there because there is an actual time assigned to this class, as you'll see in your schedule. So any of the one-on-one supervisor meetings, as well as any of the online drop sessions, will happen during that segment of time, because that is supposed to be a guaranteed time when students are free, right? So keep that in mind as well, is to leave that space free in your schedule, especially during those weeks when we're going to have those sync type activities like the supervisor meetings or drop-in sessions. You will also be tasked to meet with peers for remote team meetings at various points in the semester. So even though this is a sort of remote work type scenario, that doesn't mean that you have to be isolated, right? You will also have a remote team that you are connected with, which I'll talk about a bit more here in a few slides. First off, asynchronous, right? Course information will be delivered by announcements on Blackboard, documents, and course videos. You're watching a course video right now where I'm going through a document that's on Blackboard, right? So it all sort of intertwines. Very, very important for you to stay up to date with announcements, information on Blackboard, and course videos. This is essential for your success in the course. If you don't stay on top of announcements, if you don't watch the course videos, you're going to fall behind. That's kind of just what's going to happen. So very, very important for you to have the discipline, right? That's something that you are training in this course as a remote worker, is self-discipline to watch these videos, right? To set time aside to work on these things. It's very important for you to do so. And it requires organization, and it requires time management, which are things you're going to be developing throughout the semester with this course. Since this class is mostly asynchronous, it requires more discipline and organization to succeed. So keep that in mind, right? It's not just you coming every week to a class and everything taken care of there. It's up to you really to use this time, and you will get out of this course what you put in. So if you put in a lot of effort to create a substantial project that will be great for your portfolio, then you will end up with that at the end of the semester. If you decide to just scrape by with minimal work, then what you end up with at the semester will also demonstrate that. So it really is up to you, with the amount of effort and dedication you put into this course, what you will get out of it. One-on-one supervisor meetings, you will have 2 assigned one-on-one meetings with your supervisor, me, at key times throughout the semester. Come to the meetings prepared with questions and take notes for you to reference after the meeting. Your professor will provide information with assigned times of when you are expected to meet on Blackboard. So a lot of these things I'm talking about in this document are things that will come up later on in the course, but I'm just giving you a broad sense of what you can expect throughout the semester with this video and with this information. Drop-in sessions. There are expected to be 2 online drop-in sessions at key points during the semester. These drop-in sessions are optional and act as an additional touch point with your professor for Q&A or feedback. So you can come to those drop-in sessions with questions about the course, questions about what's happening, what's due, all that kind of stuff. But you also could say, hey, could you take a look at what I'm working on here? And I can spend some time doing that as well. Remote team meetings. So you are assigned to a remote team in this course. That's all handled on Blackboard. These teammates will act as your allies throughout the semester to keep one another on track. Utilize the remote team's discussion board on Blackboard to provide contact info for your teammates. You will not be completing a group project with this team. They're there as a support network to discuss your projects and the course with one another. You will also meet with your team at key points during the semester for peer feedback. You are encouraged to develop a group chat, whether that's in Blackboard Messenger, which wouldn't work the greatest for group chat, but definitely WhatsApp, Discord. Create a group chat with this team to keep in touch with your remote team throughout the semester. So like I said, this isn't a group you're going to be working on a project with all together, but it's meant to be a support network for you, especially if you have confusion about the course. You can connect with your remote team as they can help you through those questions as well, maybe even before you would contact me, right? Just it's a support network. It's to have you connected with some of the students in this class. And as it says here, there will be key moments in the semester when you will be meeting with this remote team to show one another the progress you've been making on your project and to give each other feedback as well, right? So again, this is sort of like your colleagues in this course, meant to help one another throughout this whole process. So that was all about the course format. But now I'm going to get into the project itself, right? And like I said, course and project are kind of one and the same for this class. Here's an overview. You can consider that you are a multimedia designer hired by Humber Polytechnic for a remote work opportunity to create a portfolio project that demonstrates and builds upon the skills you've learned in the MMDD program. This project will be featured in your portfolio to help you launch your desired career path. You're encouraged to explore new and emerging technologies and tools with this project to keep you up to date in your chosen industry. So this is really broad, and students can kind of freeze up, or they can be very excited by the opportunity to be able to propose their own project. Now, specifics about how you're going to do that are in other videos and other information on Blackboard. This is giving you just an overall look at how this project will unfold. When you propose your project, consider that it must explore a technology, software, or skill beyond previous course projects. So it shouldn't just be replication of something you've already done. It should be a learning experience for you to develop your skills in a chosen area. It must also be relevant to your personal interests. That's really important for me because, again, since you're given the opportunity to propose your own project, it should be relevant to things that you are interested in because that makes it something that you will be more motivated to work on and complete and feel fulfilled by. You might find that projects you've worked on at other classes, you feel like you're assigned to do things that you're not very interested in. So now is the time to think about what's something you're actually interested in. What is something you're actually interested in working on and completing, and this course is an opportunity to do that. Your project must contribute to your career direction because this is intended to, at the end of this process, be something that's on your portfolio to help you on the desired career path that you have. And it must be developed in a self-directed manner, right? That's very important for this course. It is a self-directed process you will be doing here. I'll be providing a lot of the sort of structure for how you're going to do that. But there's a lot of learning that you're going to have to do independently, which is a very, very important skill for you to develop in this field, as it's something you're going to have to end up doing even in your career. You're always having to learn new tools, update your skill set, and continue to expand in your repertoire of skills. Now, your project may not double dip with another course project. For example, your portfolio website that you might be developing in another course. You can't say, hey, I'm just going to do it in this class too, right? So please be very wary of that. This is meant to be its own project that you're working on for this class. It may also not be a reproduction of a previous course project, right? You've been assigned a lot of things in this semester. You can't just say, well, you know what, I'll just do this same thing that I did in this class a few semesters ago, right? This is, again, meant to be a new experience for you to do. Now, you may, for instance, have a personal brand, and you might be working on some projects in a few courses that contribute to your overall vision of that brand. And that might include this class. So if there is any sort of potential overlap between what you're doing in this class and in another class, just ask me or run it by me if it will work for this course or not. That's way better than just doing it and then I find out later on that it turns out you were taking some work from other courses that you did as well, right? That's not a good scenario for you to be in. So please just be transparent about if there is any potential connection between things you're working on in other classes. Just run it by me and make that clear in your project. The purpose of this project is to develop skills as a remote worker. As I've said, that is a key part of this class, and the independent learning you will be doing, as well as the time management that will be required of you, and the organizational skills you'll be developing will be very important for you as a remote worker and as just a professional in general. It's also important for you to develop skills in adapting to new and emerging technologies. That's a part of this project as well. Like I said, it's about learning new skills. An example that I have is when I was in school and I was learning how to edit video, we used Final Cut Pro, which was Apple's, it was the industry standard at the time. It was Apple's video editing platform. Shortly after I graduated, the standard shifted from Final Cut Pro to Adobe Premiere. Now, I didn't go back to school to learn Adobe Premiere, right? It was a new piece of software for me to learn, so I just had to learn it myself. But I used the skills that I had developed in school in being able to adapt to new technologies that allowed me to take on that software without too much frustration, right? But that's something you're going to have to do in your careers, is that there's always going to be new skills coming out, right? I mean, we've already seen what has happened with AI in the past couple of years. So new tools will be arising, new things for you to learn will be coming out in your career in the future. And in this program, we can't prepare you or teach you how to use some software that's going to be developed in 10 years. But a course like this can help you to have these skills for when that software comes out. You will feel confident in being able to learn it, and with independent learning and time management and all the things you're going to be developing in this class. Another key purpose of this course and of this project is to specialize your MMDD pathway. You've learned a lot of different things in this program, especially in those first 2 years. Motion graphics, video production, audio production, UI UX design, some development skills, some coding, right? There's a lot of graphic design, a lot of things you've been learning. So from that sort of palette of classes and skills that you've been exposed to, what do you want to refine your direction as, right? Because it's very important for you to specialize in some sense to be able to show very specific skills for when you're trying to apply for positions. So the project you're going to make in this course is an opportunity for you to work on specializing yourself. So if you really like motion graphics a lot, it makes sense for you to do a motion graphics related project in this course, where another student might do a UI UX project because that's the pathway they want to go on, right? So it's very important for you to consider all of this and what sort of path you want to build for yourself, because this project is meant to help you on that path. And as it says here, this purpose is to help you on a path towards success in your work placement and after school, right? So this portfolio project will be helpful for you when you're seeking your work placement, but also for positions once you graduate as well. These projects will be very important on your portfolio because they will be demonstrations of your skills, right? And what those skills are is up to you, and how you want to demonstrate that is up to you as well, right? So it's very open-ended. However, there is structure to how this project will unfold, and this structure is how the course will unfold as well. First, there is stage 1, which is proposing and planning your project. Stage 2 is pre-production work. Stage 3 is production work. And stage 4 is when you will finalize and deliver a final case study for your portfolio. So I'm going to talk about each of these stages here. Again, it's meant to just give you an overall understanding of what to anticipate the whole rest of the semester. Stage 1, propose and plan. This takes place from weeks 1 to 3. You will research and explore project directions, then propose and create a plan for the project you will complete this semester. Templates for your proposal and plan will be available on Blackboard of what key information to include in those documents. But first stage is simply exploring possible directions and then determining what direction you want to go, right? So you have dedicated course time to be thinking and considering what project do you want to make? What is the project that you want to make, right? And how will you complete that throughout the semester? What is your plan to do so? Then, weeks 4 to 7 is pre-production work. You will get your creative ideas out and develop a framework for the next stage, which is the production stage. So examples of pre-production work include mood boards, sketches, storyboards, scripts, surveys, any research, lo-fi prototypes, right? The sort of more messy kind of work that you do at the start of a project. And so you'll have dedicated time in this class to be doing that specific type of work, right? All the pre-production. And the more pre-production work that you do, the more seamless the production stage will become, which is happening in weeks 8 to 11. So you will start developing your final assets using the basis of work from the pre-production stage, right? The pre-production sort of develops a framework, right? Sketches, ideas of what you're going to be creating here, and then production is actually creating those assets, right? So examples of production work include animating in After Effects, mid and hi-fi prototypes in Figma, shooting video and editing in Adobe Premiere, right? So you should realize that you aren't expected to be using, your main production tools until weeks 8 through 11 of the course, right? Weeks 4 through 7 is all the pre-production work, right? Just getting your ideas organized. So this class is really meant to help you in that incremental creative process rather than just jumping directly into After Effects and animating the thing, right? I'm really trying to move you away from that sort of approach because it's very important to have a structured process to your creative work, and this class is built in a way to create that for you. Then in stage 4, you will finalize and deliver your project. This is weeks 12 through 14. You'll complete any final tweaks on your work to ensure it's professionally completed, then compile and share a Behance case study detailing your project this semester. So an example of a case study I have right here. This is from a student who did a redesign of a book, basically, of the images and design around a book. So this is some of their final work here, but we see that the project overview, this project reimagines Amanda Lovelace's poetry collection, The Princess Saves Herself in this one, with a redesigned book cover and custom illustrations for selected poems. The redesign emphasizes themes of empowerment, resilience, and self-discovery, aligning with the book's core message. And you can see that this student specified, okay, here's the key goals I have for this project of what she wanted to work on, right? The front cover, mock-ups, spine, 5 illustrated poems, and a back cover, right? Very clear with these are the goals that I plan to create throughout this process. Spoke a bit about the challenge that they faced, and then now they get into the creative process, right? Starting with mood boards, right? This is something that would have been created in the pre-production stage of this course, right? Mood boards, there's a color palette here, there's visual direction of the illustrations that the student plans to create, which then is personified in sketches that they did, right? These are sketches of potential book covers and back covers and spines that the student was working on in the pre-production stage. Again, this is all pre-production work so far. Same goes for these are sketches for the poems that they wanted to illustrate, right? Just getting their ideas out. Then that led to the final outcome, which they created in the production stage. So you see the original book cover here on the left. Here's their final redesigned book cover on the right with their original illustrations, as well as the final outcomes of the poems that they illustrated as well. And it's actually, it's quite nice in the pre-production work here too. You see, what part of the poem the student or the designer was inspired by when they created the particular illustrations, right? Really making it clear to you as someone going through this case study how this designer approached their creative process with this project. These are the final illustrations for their poems, right? Each illustration amplifies the mood of its accompanying poem, creating a seamless blend of visual and literary art. And then final mock-ups of the book with their final cover, as well as the illustrations that they made, right? Thank you. This is a very straightforward project that the student did, right? And you can really see this creative process unfolding as it relates to the structure of this course, right? The proposing and planning here of what are the goals that they plan to complete, the pre-production work of the mood board and of the sketches, and then the production work of finalizing those assets into a professional level of delivery, and then finally creating this case study here to show all of this work and demonstrate it, right? That's just an example, right? And notice how all 4 stages of project development are represented in that student's work, right? Stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's very important for you to recognize these stages as you work on your project throughout the semester, and the importance of focusing on each stage in a dedicated way so that at the end, when it comes to that final case study, you can create something like that that really shows a story of how your creativity unfolded throughout this project process. Now, the majority of what you'll be working on is that grand project you're going to propose and develop throughout the semester, but there are a few supplemental assignments as well that I felt I should just give you a quick overview on in this presentation. There is something called the Remote Work Foundations. So you will complete a LinkedIn Learning module course called Remote Work Foundations. It should take around 1 to 2 hours to complete. It's not very long. But this online course will get you on a path to success as a remote worker and will add a remote work certification to your LinkedIn profile. So once again, this course is meant to help you to have the ability to demonstrate in interviews and things like that that you have remote work skills to get that sort of position with the career path that you're on. So being able to say, look, I have this certification on my LinkedIn profile, as well as this project that I created independently, like that is what you use to sell yourself to that you have these skills, right? So this course will be helpful for that as well. Specifics on when to complete this module will be detailed in announcements and on Blackboard. So don't worry about it too much right now. That'll all be clearer for you in future and other information. There's also a professional development activity that you will be asked to complete, so you will find and participate in a relevant industry event at some point throughout the semester. A field trip for another course does not count. This activity is to help you explore your chosen industry and begin making connections, right? You're at a point where you really need to start thinking about making professional connections in your career. And so you will have the opportunity in this course. You are assigned to find a relevant industry event and then participate in it. Once again, specifics on when to complete this and more details of how to do so will be provided on Blackboard, but I think it's good for you to just have in the back of your mind that, okay, some point in this semester, I need to be finding and participating in an industry event, and you'll submit a reflection, but that will all be detailed on Blackboard. But good to have in the back of your mind in case an event comes up early on in the semester even, and you want to participate in it. So the critical path is going to show how all of this grand stuff I'm talking about is going to fit into the weekly path of the course. So here we're looking at the first half of the course, weeks 1 through 7, which is when you'll be working on stages 1 and 2 of your project. So you can see here are the weeks here, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these are rather broad, sort of guidelines of what you'll be spending time on during those weeks, as well as when specific things are due. So stage 1, research and plan, right? You'll be doing course review and research and planning work in your first week, continuing research and planning work in week 2. There'll be a drop-in session in week 2 as well, so you can keep that in mind. Specifics will be provided on Blackboard, as well as a course review quiz is due by week 2, which is all about the information covered in this presentation. Week 3, stage 1 is due, and then that will be the end of stage 1. And you'll see on Blackboard that each stage is going to have its own dedicated sort of area on the Blackboard course page where all of the information for a particular stage is included. Okay, so in the stages we'll unlock sort of one at a time. So by the time week 4 rolls around, stage 2 will be available for you to access, and then you'll be working on all of the things in stage 2, which include meeting with me. It includes completing your remote work foundations, and you will have stage 2A due in week 5 and stage 2B due in week 7. That just splits up your submissions a bit. So 2A is sort of, what you've done up to that point for your pre-production work, and then 2B would be the final pre-production work that you've completed at the end of week 7. You'll also have remote team meetings during week 6 and 7. So these will, again, it seems like a lot at first when you're seeing it all in this overview, but week to week, I'll make sure everything is very clear for you to know what to be focusing on and what to be completing. Then we have the second half of the course, weeks 8 through 14, where you'll be working on the production and the finalize and deliver stages. So you'll be working on stage 3 from weeks 8 to 11. There'll be supervisor meetings happening in weeks 10 and 11. There will be a drop-in session in week 8, right? So all of these things are here. You have stage 3A due in week 9, stage 3B due in week 11. And then we have weeks 12 through 14, which is when you're going to create your Behance case study. You also have your professional development activity due in week 12, right? So that's not due for quite some time, but just important for you to know about it so you can keep your eye out for potential events to participate in. Stage 4, that's your final submission, is due in week 13. And then week 14 is all about reflection and peer comments. So keep in mind that Your production work will be done by week 11, so that means that the majority of your project should be completed by then, and then you'll just be compiling a case study like I just showed there from that previous student, and working towards that in the end. So I'm hoping that this helps clarify and give you a sense of how the semester is going to unfold here. And like I said, it's very important to take these stages one at a time, to be working on your work and giving dedicated time for each of these different project stages, rather than just, like I said, opening After Effects and trying to make the thing immediately. It's very important for you to have a strong creative process that will be essential for you in your career to be able to complete projects in this way and to be able to show that you can as well on your portfolio. The critical path is also subject to potentially change. Due dates, drop-in sessions, and things like that could potentially move around. So, just understand that if any changes do happen, I'll make sure to make that clear to you on Blackboard in announcements and all of that grand old stuff. Submission info. So this gets into specific information about how you will submit your work in this class. I just figure it's also important to cover this just to give you a sense of what to anticipate when it comes to your submissions in this course. First off, each project work submission, right? So if we look at the critical path, you'll see, stage 1 is due, stage 2A is due, stage 2B is due. Each of these project work submissions will ask you, they will request specific deliverables from you, right? It will look something like this: deliverable requests, stage 1 timesheet, project proposal, and a project plan. Please submit your work as direct PDF attachments, not as a zip folder. Okay, so that's an important protocol when it comes to your submissions, to please do direct PDF attachments, not a zip folder. That just creates one additional step for me to access your work. Having it as direct PDFs makes it way easier for me to evaluate your submissions. In the comment box of your submission, include a professional, non-AI generated message, dear professor, attached is my pre-production work, something like that. This is meant to help you also with that professional habit, providing context for your work, right? So see my pre-production work attached, as well as any specific feedback requests, right? So because there's a lot of different projects in this class, there's a lot of different things students are working on. It's important, if you want specific feedback, to direct me into what it is you would like feedback on. So you could say, for instance, my pre-production work is attached. Please let me know which of the 3 logos you think is the strongest. That's great. Then I can look at your logos and I can provide you insights with what to do, right? Which logo I feel is strongest to move forward with, right? So keep that in mind if you would like specific feedback on your submission. Each work submission in the course will request an updated project plan and timesheet. So your project plan is going to look something like the critical path. There's a template for this on Blackboard. But you'll basically be making a weekly checklist of all your tasks. So you will create a project plan in stages 1 and 3 that detail key weekly tasks for you to complete to stay on track. In stage 1, you'll make a plan for weeks 1 through 7 of the course, stages 1 and 2. And then in stage 3, you will create a plan for weeks 8 through 14 of the course, which is stages 3 and 4. This just helps you because you'll be first planning out, your research and planning and your pre-production stages, and then when it gets into the production stage, you will be planning out what tasks you'll be completing then and then finalizing. This just splits up some of the planning for you, so it's not so overwhelming to plan out a whole 14-week project plan from the outset. Templates will be provided on Blackboard, but with each work submission, you will include an updated plan, right? So you'll check off the tasks that you've completed, and you will export a new document and you will attach it with each work submission that is accompanied with your project work, right? So this is showing that you are reviewing your plan, you are checking off tasks, you're updating it if you need to. This is very important for you to stay on track. There's also a timesheet that will be included with each of your project work submissions. This is once again something to help develop some remote work skills, especially if you end up being a freelancer or something like that. Timesheets are very important for you to be able to create. So you will include a timesheet with each submission detailing the tasks you completed and how long they took, and provide evidence of the tracked work alongside your timesheet. So for example, if you track storyboard development for 2 hours, you will include the attached storyboard demonstrating this work, right? So this is a way for you to keep track of how much time you're spending on particular tasks in the course, as well as to demonstrate to me how much effort you're putting into these things, right? And so you'll be attaching the work alongside your timesheet to basically prove the amount of hours you put into it. And this is a repeated thing here about the comment box in the submission. But you will create your own custom timesheet. This will be talked about more in a separate video on Blackboard, but you can see this is a template for one here. You'll have your own company name, your own logo, but every submission you will add new tasks that you've completed, how long those tasks have taken. So you'll need to be keeping track of the time you're spending in this course, right? So this is meant for you to be keeping track of yourself, the own time that you are creating, or the only time that the time you are using for your project tasks, and how long particular things are taking as well. So that's the submission process. Now I'll get into the evaluation in this course. So this is a SAT unsat course. So this project and course is evaluated as SAT unsat, or satisfactory unsatisfactory, or pass fail, whatever makes the most sense to you, rather than a traditional grading system of A, B, C, or 92, 83, 76, whatever. This is to simulate a professional context where typically your work is just either satisfactory or not. You're not getting a letter grade on your work in a professional context. This is also to allow for more diversity of projects. It helps me when marking, because if one student is doing a UI UX project, one student is doing a video production project, it can be hard to equate specific grading parameters to those things. So it being sat unsat allows for a bit more of an open-ended marking approach, and it ensures you're making satisfactory progress on your project at all times. So really what I'll be looking for in each project submission is to ensure you're making satisfactory progress at any given time, right? That's really what this is about. You incrementally working on this project, submitting things at checkpoints, and ensuring you're on track. Each submission will list key deliverables for you to complete and submit. You must receive a SAT evaluation for each requested deliverable to receive a SAT on the submission. So if we look back at this, right, a submission may ask for these 3 deliverables. You would need to receive a satisfactory on all 3 to receive a satisfactory for the submission as a whole. If anything receives an unsat evaluation, you will receive an unsat for the submission and have one opportunity to resubmit for reevaluation. All submissions must receive a SAT to pass the course. So you have to submit everything in the class. You have to receive a SAT on everything in order to pass the class. You can't not do assignments. You can't skip submissions. Otherwise, that would lead to an unsat in the class and you not receiving credit for the course. For example, in your stage 1 submission, you may receive a SAT for your project proposal, but an unsat for your project plan. You'd have 1 week from receiving your evaluation to resubmit your project plan for the opportunity to receive a SAT. It says timeline there. That's what it used to be called, but it's a project plan. The following will lead to a successful project and a SAT in the course: submitting work on time, in the correct format, with all requested deliverables, maintaining hours of demonstrated work with each timesheet. So 3 to 6 hours per week of the course is the ideal sort of sweet spot that you should be in. So with each timesheet, consider how many weeks of work that it is, and that you should have 3 to 6 hours per week of the course shown on that timesheet, right? So if the timesheet is meant to be for 2 weeks of the class, it should be at least 6 to 12 hours of work, if that makes sense. Not to get into too much math right now, but just keep that in mind, right? So you should be spending at least 3 to 6 hours a week on your project, on the course itself. Other ways to receive a SAT is to arrive at supervisor meetings on time and prepared, and arriving at remote team meetings on time and prepared as well. Those are professional sort of skills for you to develop to be on time, especially when other people are involved. Not being on time or not giving any sort of notice with a lot of time is unprofessional, and it's a waste of other people's time. So you need to make sure that you're being professional in those scenarios as well. The following will lead to you being taken off the project, right, and unsat for the course. So an unsat submission that was not resolved with a resubmission or late waiver. I'll talk about late waivers here in a minute. More than 2 late submissions in the course, which must be submitted with a late waiver. So you will basically have 2 sort of opportunities to submit things at least 1 week late, but only 2. Not keeping up with ongoing project submissions. So if you try to do the whole project in the last 2 weeks of the class, that's not going to happen. It would have been an unsat before then anyway, but keep in mind that this course is meant to be an incremental process, so you can't just do everything in 2 weeks. It's meant to take the full semester. Low hours of demonstrated work with each timesheet, so under the 3 hours per week of the course, right? If you submit a timesheet that's intended to be between 6 and 12 hours and you only have 30 minutes of work on it, that's not going to be very good for you, right? So that demonstrates you're falling behind. So you need to step up. You need to figure out how to get enough hours on your timesheet to align with the needs of this class. If you miss supervisor meetings with no prior communication, or you arrive really late, or you're unprepared, that would lead to an unsat for professionalism, as well as missing remote team meetings. That's an unsat for professionalism, as well as that, is something that involves other people and your remote team members, so you need to be respectful to them as well. When it comes to late submissions, there are these things called late waivers, which you can access on Blackboard. And you are permitted 2 late submissions up to 1 week late throughout the term, excluding the last week of the semester. After 1 week of no submission, it will be deemed automatically unsat. So you have within 1 week of a missing submission to submit it with a late waiver, and you have 2 of these. I understand sometimes you can't get things in on time, so that's why I've given you this opportunity to have 2 late waivers to use, and you'll fill it out. This is again a document on Blackboard. You'll have to specify whether it's the first or second late waiver that you have submitted, as well as what remote work skills were you lacking that caused the submission to be late, because the expectation is that it would not be late. Explain how you'll make sure to submit work on time in the future. You'll explain that here, and then you will basically sign your name here. So this is meant to hold you accountable for submitting late work and reflecting on why it was late and creating a plan for yourself to not have late work in the future. Okay. So you must include a late waiver with any late work for it to be evaluated. And after 2 late waivers, any additional late work will lead to an automatic unsat in the course, right? So this is again meant to replicate a more professional scenario. Work can come in late from time to time, maybe depending on what your job position is, but 2 times it being late, maybe that's passable, but by the time a third thing is late, that demonstrates a trend of behavior that needs to change. So that's why it would lead to an unsat in the course overall. Okay, so keep that in mind. The AI policy, I figure that's something that I should cover here for this course. So as a student in the Multimedia Design and Development program, you are permitted to use AI as a tool to enhance your design and development work. However, it is important to remember that the use of AI should be acknowledged and transparent, just like when referencing external sources. Unsighted and/or unauthorized use of AI in assessments and assignments constitutes academic misconduct as defined in Humber's academic regulations. By being honest about your use of AI and giving credit where it's due, you'll be promoting ethical and responsible use of this technology while developing the skills you need to succeed in the industry. If used, AI should be a tool, but you should not be fully reliant on it. You are responsible for the accuracy of the work submitted, including being able to explain the information therein. For example, if you use ChatGPT for help with coding, you'll still need to be able to explain each line of code. Individual assignments may contain specific rules around the use of AI. Where ambiguity exists, ask your professor about the use of AI within the specific assignment. And this statement was generated with help from AI, ChatGPT. Right, so that's me being transparent that this AI disclaimer was generated with the help of AI. Okay, so it's really just all about being transparent. In this class, you're actually kind of encouraged to use AI. I mean, I'm afraid to kind of say that, but given AI is a new, revolution, as they keep saying, and it's, influencing all kinds of different industries, this would be a great opportunity for you to consider, okay, how is AI impacting UI UX design? How can I use some new AI tools to enhance my own design practice, right? That could be a great project in this class. So like I said, AI, if anything, you're intended to use it in some way if it's a part of the project that you are creating. But all you have to do is just be transparent that you're using AI. That's all that I ask. So that's pretty straightforward, I think. Professor contact. This is how to get in contact with me. I'm your professor, Christopher Ohlendorf. I'm only just now introducing myself, which is funny. My preferred contact is Blackboard Messages. I find it's easier to manage than email. It keeps things related to specific courses as well. Some of your other professors may say never send me a Blackboard message. I am saying to use that as a preferred form of contact. And please, if you've sent me a Blackboard message before and you want to send me another one, go back to the previous conversation thread and ask the new question there, so it doesn't create entirely new conversation threads every time you want to ask me something. So just keep that in mind. It can help keep things way more organized. My email, in case you do want to or need to email me, is christopher.ollendorf@humber.ca. You can always contact me with questions. I will try to respond within 48 hours during business hours, so Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Emails sent on Friday or the weekend should not expect a response until the following week. And it is program policy that instructors cannot be contacted by social media, so please no DMs in order to get in contact with me. Just send me a Blackboard message. And I am responsive, and you may have questions you need to ask me about specific things about your project. Please feel free to. Tips for success this semester in this course. Definitely read weekly announcements thoroughly at the start of each week, as they will detail key information about work for the week. That's where I'll say, okay, this week you should be working on this. Make sure you're doing this. Very important to stay up to date with the course. Review Blackboard for clarification about aspects of the course and project. And if your question isn't addressed there, you can reach out to me via Blackboard Messenger. But once again, reach out to me with questions after you've gone through everything on Blackboard, rather than opening Blackboard, not looking through the information, and then asking me, what do I do, right? Because I put a lot of time and effort into all of these materials to try and make it clear for you. Organize your work time each week to maintain development on your project and not fall off track. It's very important, right? Once again, like I said earlier, you do have dedicated class time in your schedule for this course. You can consider just always using that time every week for your work in this class, or you could, schedule pockets of time throughout the week, but you should always be making sure every week you're making time for your project in this class as not to fall behind. That is self-discipline, right? Which is a huge part of this course. So that's something you're going to be working on developing throughout this process. And very importantly, propose a project that you will enjoy working on. This course is meant to be a creative exploration for you, so take advantage of it. I know that there's a lot of specifics, a lot of logistics that were covered in this document here in this video, but it's all to just help you get all of that out of the way so that you can begin working on your creative work in this class. And the exploration that you were provided in this class is meant to inspire you, right? Meant to make you feel creatively fulfilled. So it's very important for you to think about what's a project that could make you feel creatively fulfilled and building your project in that way, right? Rather than something that you're just doing for course credit, it should be something that you really feel is meaningful to you, because that will make this whole process so much easier for you to complete rather than something that feels like a chore, right? So that's something that's very important to keep in mind, especially at the start of the semester. Now, as I've mentioned a little bit in this video, there is a course review quiz that you will need to take, and you'll need to receive 100% on in order to move on to the first stage of your project in the class. And you will notice at the end of the course review quiz, it does ask you how many minions does it take to change a light bulb, I think is the question. And while it looks like here, maybe there's one minion here acting alone, maybe there's a handful of minions working together in a pyramid, the correct answer for that question is banana, okay? So I throw that in here just as a way to see whether or not you watched this video all the way to the end. So thank you for doing so, and best of luck with everything this semester in the class. Once again, I am here for you to contact with any questions. So take care.